Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Day today is the 5th of August, year of our Lord 2024. Yep, it's something about the year that always trips me, because I think a couple episodes ago I said 2024. May need to adjust how I do the intro. Hey, guy who says that I always sound high when I do the intro. How was that one? Piece of shit. How was that one? Did I do better that time? Hey, I'm actually not in a confrontational mood today, despite how the first 30 seconds of today's program have gone. How are you guys doing? Do you guys have a good weekend? The Olympics still going on. Yup. Still talking about it. Yup. It's still the off season. Yup. Still obsessed with the Olympics. It feels like it's re-apexing in some way. And I think the reason that I've tricked myself into thinking that the Olympics are having a moment, like a cultural moment, is because, first of all, it kind of is, because the last memory that we had of the Summer Olympics was Tokyo, where if you were an American, the time zone thing, it just made it unwatchable, like completely unwatchable. And then the other part of it was that there were no crowds, and the crowds are back. They're officially back, and so people are able to witness these spectacles in all their glory and react appropriately. And boy, have they been. Tennis was electric today. Djokovic in the gold medal match. It was crazy. I turned on tennis like probably about a week and change ago at this point. Not week and change, but, within the last week. I just randomly turned it on. It's Djokovic versus Rafael Nadal, huh? Rubbing my eyes like popping out of my skull like a damn Looney Tunes character. I'm saying, what is this, 2011? It was you talk about, I'm the one who's saying that I'm the one who feels reinvigorated by these Olympics, and it's the first time since 2012 that I've really felt this way, right? Well, how about the fact that I just turn on my TV and it's Djokovic versus Nadal, huh? So that was awesome. Who's the kid that he beat today? Alcaraz? That kid, Spanish kid. He rules, but Djokovic, seemingly the best performance that he's ever had in his life, coming off of a knee injury. Only thing that he, I think, hasn't done in his career is a Grand Slam, right? It's the only thing that he didn't do. But now he's a gold medalist. Don't believe that he had done that before. The real gem of Sunday for me was, and I don't know if you saw this, and I don't know if you heard about this, women's skeet shooting. Boy, were the sparks flying, and the scandals are certainly flowing. So we get down to the nitty-gritty of women's skeet shooting. And the American takes the bronze, but for the first two women, they tied. So we go into so they advanced into the gold medal, like shoot off, but like the gold medal match of like shoot and skeet. And then in that, they tied. Okay, so this woman from Great Britain, who I guess is like the Tom Brady of skeet shooting, and then this woman from Chile, and Chile had never won a gold medal either in skeet shooting in general or at least in women's skeet shooting. So there's a lot riding on this, right? Because the woman from Great Britain is like the renowned world champion. Okay, well, they tie, and so they go into a shoot-off where it's just two shots, and then if you miss one, the other person, all they got to do is make both of them, right? You guys know how a shoot-off works, but they get two shots each turn. And so they fuck around for a little bit. By the way, Chile is mowing this entire time. She kind of has like a 28-3 Atlanta Falcons, New England Patriots adjacent performance in the latter half of this match. Is that what we would call it? And then so they get into the shoot-off. They're just going back and forth. Great Britain goes up first. They're in like the third round of the shoot-off. And they say that she missed one of the discs, but when you slow-mo replay it, she actually hit it. It was just that it didn't completely separate and the powder didn't come out, so the judges weren't able to tell. So she contested immediately. She's like, no, do not bullshit me out of this gold medal. I just hit both of them. They show it on the replay. She hits both of them. Judges rule that she did not. So Chile comes up. She knocks both of hers down. Boom. Gold medal goes to Chile. Now, it doesn't really stop there because this had been happening the entire time. For the last like 20 minutes, we had separate instances. Even Chile contested one where she was like, and I keep calling them just by their country's names. I don't know if that's the preferred nomenclature of these women, is just the nationality of, where they're from. But okay, so she had a few instances of that too, where she's shooting it and she's like, what the fuck? No, count that shit. Like, I hit it. We never actually got some replay, but so even the announcers, even the broadcasters were like, something is amiss here. Skeet shooting was electric, gold medal to Chile. And then some other things actually that you guys wanted to talk about. We got 2 emails about Simone Biles, copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever you listen to this program. The first one here comes into us from Andrew. Andrew, welcome to the show. Subject line, the Simone Biles moment. Hey, Nick, longtime listener, first-time email sender. Simone Biles winning gold is an all-time sports TV moment in my viewership catalog because the broadcasters shut up and just let me watch the routine. I was able to get caught up in the moment, and I could feel the tension, and the performance was just bonkers. Truly an all-timer. I would enjoy hearing your thoughts. And then I will allow you to get this take off because you sent in an email, Andrew. It was your first email, so of course I'm going to read your little casual NBA fan hot take, as you put it. The Bucks championship window closed when they traded Jrue Holiday. Love that take. Dynamite. I don't disagree with that at all. It's crazy because if you're Milwaukee, you basically supplemented perimeter defense and like glue for a guy who might score 30 a game, maybe. But then like this last season happens, you're just like, what the fuck is going on here? Turns out Jrue Holiday pretty important because the team that he went to, I don't know if you guys heard this or saw this, but the Celtics just won a fucking championship. So yeah, I don't hate that take at all. The Simone Biles thing, yeah, man, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. And now I don't have the language to really document what I saw, but what I do know is I don't understand how a woman that size can get 10 to 12 feet in the air. I don't understand how. I don't get it. Because I get that she's jumping off of springs in the floor. Like, I get that, but like the inertia that she creates from hitting the springs, that just doesn't create. So then it just turns into the fact, okay, so she's just a muscle hamster is all that it is, right? It's just all in the legs. I'm sure if you Google it, there's some, regiment that she does, I'm sure, but it's not of this world. It's probably not of this world. When we talk about maybe the aliens have already shown up and they've actually given us technology and shit like that, whatever it is that they gave us, you like to imagine that they injected that shit into Simone Biles because, And to your point about broadcasters just letting the moment breathe, there is nothing more refreshing in sports across the board than when an announcer when an announcer understands the gravity of the moment, right? Not to make this about me, but when the Lions won their first playoff game against the Rams this last year, for the first time in my lifetime and in a lot of kids' lifetimes, it's been 30 years since the Lions have won a playoff game against the Rams. Well, Mike Tirico, we were lucky that he was calling the game because the dude lives in Ann Arbor, right? He understands the gravity. He understands the stakes in that moment. So when the game is winding down and it's happening, this is officially happening. Detroit is going to win this game. What did you hear from Mike Tirico? Not a damn word. And you really appreciate that because it adds to the rawness of the moment and the emotion. And so to your point here, Andrew, when you allow the moment to breathe with a Simone Biles type of figure, not just what she means to America, not just to the sport of gymnastics, but to how do I want to phrase this? I was kind of on a roll there. Sucks to stumble over myself there. Not like the culture of like the Olympics, but you know what I mean? Like the greater pantheon of Olympic athletes, what she means to the spectacle and to the event. Could not agree with you more. And then I do want to say this. We kind of had a coping hour first the other day, and this is another Simone Biles email, but I just want to set the stage a little bit because Nathan is going to be carrying the show today in a major way. It's rare that you guys put in a lot of time into an email and I read the whole thing. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the subject line here is a grab bag email of emails. And he sent in like 15 different takes and topics and subjects that I can kind of just pick what I want from them. Honestly, I couldn't believe how much he nailed this email. And you guys will see as we go along. Nathan is essentially producing the show today, content-wise. So Nathan, I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, really appreciated this. Nathan, welcome back to the show. Let's get to the Simone Biles take that you had here. Simone Biles, GOAT conversations. I've been seeing discussion on IG Reels about Simone Biles being the greatest athlete of all time. I'm inclined to agree with many of the arguments that others are making, such as the fact that she is so good that the Olympic Gymnastics Committee, or whoever runs it, has outlawed some of her skills because they are so difficult that other gymnasts may hurt themselves. That's absolutely insane. No, that said, I am not hearing arguments that other athletes are the greatest athletes of all time, and I am wondering if you have any in mind. I don't think it can be LeBron, Jordan, Gretzky, or any other American sports league player because in most of the big four sports, there is no defined GOAT. Could it be an Ali type of character, though? Let me know. Yeah, I kind of just wanted to stay on the Simone Biles thing because it just adds to the what the hell-ness of the whole thing. And then, a second ago, I mentioned the greater pantheon of Olympic athletes. And this actually kind of answers the question. Michael Phelps may be in there too. Or if we want to go more modern, Katie Ledecky, the 20 fastest timed like laps, not laps, but the 20 fastest 1500 meter like times ever for women ever. That's Katie Ledecky. And then the thing I wanted to say about Michael Phelps is, you guys know that none of his world records are still standing? Huh? We're evolving too quickly. What the fuck? 15 years ago, 10 years ago, Michael Phelps was like the pinnacle of athleticism and dominance in your sport. And now we are so desensitized, which is a real conversation that we could have, but we are so desensitized to the greatness of these athletes that Michael Phelps doesn't even fucking have any records anymore. And that doesn't, what? Huh? You could throw him in there, greatest athlete of all time. To me, isn't that interesting of a topic, just because it's so subjective and it's so fluid. And it's one of those things that I very much like when there's a correct answer, and not just one that I blindly believe is the correct answer and then I try to convince everybody else that it's the case. Because it's the same way that, if you guys didn't see, ESPN put out a couple of weeks ago their top 100 athletes list, which does not act as anything more than rage bait, and like it's just a content factory, which is cool, and it's cool, quote unquote, off-season content, because we're kind of in the dog days of the sports calendar here in America, where it's like baseball's on and, you know, the NFL preseason is ramping up, but like other than that, there's not a lot going on. So fuck it, let's put out a list where we're like, Asia Wilson is a better athlete than Connor McDavid, like 15 athletes better than I guess, like okay, and so the people who say Tom Brady, it's not Brady. It's not Brady. I actually do think athletically you are allowed to put LeBron in there, just because of who he is. Because when we're talking, like, here's the other part of the GOAT, you know, athlete conversation is like, are you doing who's the most decorated, or are you doing who's the biggest specimen? It's LeBron. If we're just doing that, it's LeBron. And I don't think that's ever going to change. Medicine can advance as far as it wants. I don't think we're going to have another guy whose body is as well put together and as well maintenanced as LeBron's has been for the last 25 years. Like, never had a major injury. Never. Not once. Ever. And speaking of major injuries, fucking Gordon Hayward retired, apparently. Didn't see that. The only reason I saw it was because Gordon Hayward retiring means that Paul George is the last man standing from the 2010's NBA draft class, which is crazy when you, in a vacuum, because Gordon Hayward and Paul George were the last two from that class. So the two guys who had the worst leg injuries that we've seen in basketball when was Sean Livingston? When did that happen? 15 years ago? The Yusuf Nurkic one was fucking bad, man. That was bad. That was bad, and he came back from that one. But the Gordon Hayward one, I think we've talked about it on this program before, felt like the biggest because of the stage that it was, because of the moment. You have this, you know, Kyrie Irving return to Cleveland. You know, it's his first game as a Boston Celtic. It just happens to be in Cleveland. And Gordon Hayward, you know, finally leaves Utah and he goes to Boston, and we're thinking, like, could he send them over the edge? And man, this moment was so big. Just a couple minutes into this game, he snaps his fucking ankle. Snapped. Gone. Brutal. The Paul George one was tough because, if memory serves, it happened in practice, right? No, was it practice or was it a showcase game? It might have been a showcase game. Okay. Yeah, might have been a showcase. But the point is, the moment was different, so not as many people were watching. The same thing with, like, Yusuf Nurkic. He broke it. He fucking snapped his leg in half in the middle of, like, a random Wednesday night game. That was the reason that the Nurkic injury resonates with me so much, is because it was one of those nights where I randomly turned on a Blazers game. I had no reason to turn it on. I just wanted to watch some hoops. It was late at night. I put on Portland, and it was like 3 minutes later that Nurkic snapped his leg. It's the same way that the first ever, would this be MMA or UFC? Someone will correct me on this, but whichever one it is, when Anderson Silva like kicked a dude and then his leg just broke and just went around the guy, snaked around the guy's leg, was the first fight that I ever watched. It was the first fight that I ever watched. Anderson Silva snaps his, however many years ago that was, snaps his leg in half. I was like, I'm never watching this shit again. Honest to God, I think the next fight that I watched after that would have been McGregor versus Floyd. And that was, again, it was a couple years after that. So, all right, Simone Biles, greatest athlete of all time? Sure. You want to put Serena in there? Let's put Serena in there. I'm going to say physically, though, I'll put Michael Phelps in there. Physically, though, I'm always going to go with LeBron just because of how well-kept he has been for such an extended period of time. So let's get back to some of these other ones that Nathan sent in here. We're going to go, like, we're about to do a hard departure from everything that we were just talking about. So basically how this email is structured is he literally just wrote, like, take number 1, this thing, take number 2, this thing, with like a spiel for me to read. All right. So that's how this one's going to go. Take number 4 that Nathan wrote down here is, can I just like rom-coms, please? Nick, I cannot express my love of rom-coms to you. I find them to be the sweetest, funniest, most enjoyable films possible. About a Boy is probably the greatest movie ever created in my eyes. That said, whenever I say to someone that I love to watch rom-coms, I get a weird reaction. Maybe it's because I'm 6'7" and 225. Jesus Christ. Talk about physical specimens. Is Nathan the greatest athlete of all time? The fuck? 6'7", 225? You're a dude. That's a lot of dude. Hell yes, brother. Back to the email, though. So you get a poor reaction because of that. But I don't think that's fair. Wait a minute. But I don't think it's fair that I'm labeled as a rom-com guy. I think that this brings up another conversation that is important to me. How does the way that you look affect the way that people perceive you? Oh, whoa. This one, I guess I didn't even read the second part of this because this is, wow, okay. I know I have just hit the most basic premise of all time. This is not new or nuanced. But I would be interested to hear how you see it affect you as a personality on the internet. Do you think it affects you in a positive or negative way? Wow, lots to unpack here. I thought we were just doing a fun little rom-com thing. Really should screen the whole email ahead of time. I'll stick with the rom-com thing first of all. The Notebook is the greatest. If we're doing that, I think The Notebook is in there. That's one of those movies that when it would come on as a kid, remember when like you would be just like flipping through channels and the movie would be on and you would stop what you were doing and you would just watch that movie. Anytime it was The Notebook, I would always hope that the person who had the remote didn't change the channel because I really wanted to watch it. But I was always too scared to say, please don't change the channel because I didn't want them to think that I wanted to watch The Notebook because obviously that was gay. And me as a 9-year-old was like, So back to the other part of the email though, people, how did you phrase this? I think it brings up a conversation that's important to me. How does the way that you look affect the way that people perceive you? I don't have a good response to this because I've never walked into a room and like sure, I'm like worried that everybody's looking at me and everybody hates me and that everybody wants me to leave, but I don't think it has anything to do with like my physical appearance. There have been times in my life where like I have a crazy beard or like sometimes strangers will comment on my mustache and that always makes me really, really uncomfortable. Never know how to react to that because I never know if they're being like facetious or not. And so I'd never know if it's like hands, but you know, whatever. So I don't know. I'm sure. But 6'7", 225, like, yes, you have a unique perspective on this because, so what have you been asked your whole life? Oh, you play basketball, right? Like how many times have you had to answer that? Or just like, what sport do you play? Like, what do you do? Because it's tough when you're that tall. It's tough to just be some guy because then people are like almost disappointed. And I'm not trying to like, I hope some of this actually does resonate and I'm not just like making shit up. I'm just going off of all of the really tall people that I've known in my life. They're almost like disappointed when they find out that you work as like a fucking real estate agent or something. Like you don't do anything like cool. You know what I mean? You don't have like a thing that like you do just because you're tall, just because you're a huge dude. I'm like a normal height. I don't know if I've ever done the spiel about my height on the show, but I will dispel some rumors out there. I am real life 5'11", okay? But if I tell you that I'm 5'11", that means that I'm actually 5'10", because if I was lying, if I wanted to lie and say I was 6 foot, I could, right? But that shit doesn't matter to me. I just say I'm 5'10" if you ask me, because I don't want to have to deal with the semantics of people thinking that I'm actually insecure about my height. So I actually round down, even though I am a little bit closer to, and then like weight wise, I'm average height, average build, right? A good weight for me is somewhere between 170 and like 182. And I think right now I'm a little bit closer to, just because I'm still kind of going through that phase where I'm not eating a ton. I think I'm a little bit closer to 170. Hopefully don't dip under that. then it would be cause for concern. Sorry, man. I guess I don't have as much. I could do a whole thing about rom-coms, but maybe that's not really what the intent was here. And then take number 5 makes a lot of sense. Having read the last email, the last take. It's just affect versus effect. I never know which one to use when. And the little blue dots always pop up when I'm typing out a sentence. I wish they just merged into one word. So Nathan needs to know affect versus effect, because he used affect a lot in the last take. What's the difference? So, if you were working in a lab in Wuhan and you accidentally made coronavirus and it was a lab leak, it got out, you have now affected the whole world. But then you get home and you find out that the COVID has already gotten back to your house, and now your spouse in your house has contracted COVID and also given it to you. You are now affected by the Wuhan lab leak, and now you have coronavirus, you are affected by your previous effect. Nathan, I hope that one helps. Now, this next one, folks, we might spend somewhere between a normal amount of time and too much time on this. So really stay with me. I mean, look at the timestamps. How long did I spend on this one? I have no idea. Take number 6. LeBron James, top 7 American of all time. Hang with me on this one. I'm here, Nathan. I'm here. I'm listening. In order, 1 through 7. Again, greatest Americans of all time. Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King Jr., Jimi Hendrix, Sylvia Plath, Abe Lincoln, Alex Trebek, LeBron James. I just think that's the correct order. Feel free to add your top Americans to this list. I just want to say, now you couldn't see this at home. He wrote MLK and then Junior parenthetically. I don't think the other guy was just straight up not an American. Wasn't he German? The motherfucker who put the list on the church? You talking about that guy? We knew who you were talking. If we say MLK, I don't need to fixate on this. Top 7 Americans of all time. Well, I consulted the inner circle about this one, and we really wanted to try to put together a comprehensive list. And I want to start by agreeing with you on 2 names that I believe, and I'm not going to go in order, but these are, I think, some of the greatest Americans that we have in our culture. Not just today, but all time, right? The 2 that I'm going to agree with you on, Alex Trebek, who I believe was a dual citizen between America and Canada. Alex Trebek, the voice of generations. He transcended a single one, right? He was multiple. Truly one of the kindest and warmest voices that you ever heard on TV, especially hosting a game show. The show wasn't noisy. The show wasn't about all these prizes and all these. It was just about, like, who knows shit, right? And the etiquette that he sort of intrinsically brought to that environment, because he was such a class act. He was just awesome. Alex Trebek, definitely one of the greatest Americans of all time, 100%. I'm going to agree with you on LeBron, too, because I think there is something to be said about that guy, which has been setting myself up a lot lately, where I say something that I frame something like it's about to be profound, and then it's like, yeah, it's like everyone says that. But seriously, though, for a kid who was in the national spotlight since he was 13, we're talking 30 years. This guy has been in the news for almost 30 years. He hasn't slipped once. There has not been one, remember when this thing happened with LeBron? Like there was with Michael, like there was with Magic, go back on all these players. There's always something with all of them, right? There hasn't been with LeBron. Sure, like all the China stuff, that does not count. That's at that point we're fishing, right? Like if that's the worst thing that's happened in LeBron's career, okay. And you think about that guy, we talked about him, how he's had no injuries. Now that doesn't actually matter in terms of him being a great American, but he's a pretty damn good example. It's a pretty goddamn good example. Especially, conservatives never really think of it this way when it comes to LeBron, because they always just shut up and dribble comes to it, But when you think about the nuclear family and what that idea means, what that ideology means, look at LeBron as an example. He's been with the same woman his entire life, and they've raised a very, very happy and healthy family. You know what I mean? His mom is in his life, like lives with them, basically. I think she's in like the back house or something like that. He's living in Brentwood. That guy's back house is probably bigger than the building that I live in, honestly. That guy is awesome. He rules. We talked about the Renaissance photo of him getting to be a flag bearer. LeBron James, 100%. An ambassador of a sport, an ambassador of a brand, an ambassador of a nation. LeBron James, top 7 American of all time. Now, let's get off the road a little bit. Let's talk about some other ones in here. The first one that came to mind is a layup. It's Albert Einstein. 100% Albert Einstein belongs on the list of the top 7 Americans of all time. Nick, he wasn't an American. Wrong, fake news. Yes, he was. Albert Einstein and his life as an American citizen was a lot like Hakeem Olajuwon on the Raptors. Not quite. I mean, because Albert Einstein had, like, he was productive as an American. Like, there was consistent output. Namely the fact that, so he comes over from Germany because he's fearing for his life. As soon as Hitler starts to rise to power, he came here in the mid-30s. I think he came here in 1933. And then he became an American citizen like 7 years later. But while he was here, he was the one that went to FDR and was like, he wrote a letter and was like, listen, dude, the Nazis are building this bomb. He's like, I don't want to build this bomb, but somebody needs to build this bomb in America, because if the Germans get this first, everyone is screwed. So then that's how the Manhattan Project gets started and shit like that. And honestly, my sneaky favorite thing about that whole story, that honestly the movie covered for like one throwaway line. You just don't really hear about it in the movie. But when they were working on the Manhattan Project, FDR dies and Truman takes over. He had no idea that they were building the bomb. He had no idea about the Manhattan Project. And so it was a matter of like, how the fuck do we tell this guy that we're building a weapon of mass destruction? They would not have begun to build the weapon of mass destruction if it wasn't for Albert Einstein. So at the end of the day, he kind of has to shoulder some of that burden, and I'm sure that he did. But we are going to put him on that list, Albert Einstein, and then all of the other physics shit. You know, you think about him as just like the Nazis were like, oh, like a cultural, like intellectual. Kill him, kill his fucking ass. Albert Einstein was like, hell no, I'm going to America. So he's 100% on the list. And then this next one's going to be a little bit controversial. I'm going to put Rihanna on the list. Now, Rihanna has very famously dodged getting her American citizenship, which honestly is par for the course as an American. Par for the course, because people are lazy and don't want to do stuff. You know how hard it is to get motherfuckers to register to vote or to do anything, get their driver's license, do anything? It's really hard to motivate people. Rihanna just can't be bothered. Not only can she not be bothered, but she is one of the bigger, how to put it delicately, capitalists that we have in our culture, right? She's a billionaire off that Fenty money, seemingly not off of the music shit, because she hasn't had an album in 10 years. Where's the album, Rihanna? Also, by the way, performed at the Super Bowl pregnant. Have any of the other Americans that were on Nathan's list done that? Let me see. Harriet Tubman, she didn't perform at the Super Bowl pregnant. Did Martin Luther King Jr. do that? Doubt it. Jimi Hendrix? Nope. Sylvia Plath? Doubt it. Abe Lincoln? No. Dead bitch. Alex Trebek? No, but he would have if he could have. LeBron James? Hell no. So Rihanna has to be on the list. Can I throw out another one? If you guys want to get crazy, can we talk about Natalie Portman? Dual citizen. Israel and the United States. Natalie Portman. When you think about dudes who, like, their entire personalities have become Revenge of the Sith, well, Natalie Portman she plays a role in that. Oh, what? You don't really care about Star Wars? Then you probably care about Black Swan. Oh, what's that? You don't really care about Black Swan? How about Annihilation? That's right. You probably really like Annihilation, is what it is. Oh, what's that? You didn't really like Annihilation? That's right. You were a big fan of Jackie when she was Jackie Onassis in the biopic Jackie. We're going to put Natalie Portman on there. Too influential. Also, Harvard graduate. She went to Harvard. She's a fucking genius. Natalie Portman has a spot on this list, 100%. We already said Alex Trebek. Now, these last two, I'll do the dumb one first. Nicole Kidman. I'm putting Nicole Kidman on here. Australian citizen and United States citizen. When you think about what we love so much about going to the movies, specifically going to an AMC, which if you listened to the last program that we did, at the tail end of it, we were talking about what a dream sponsor for me would be and who that would be, what that would look like. It dawned on me, light bulb moment, AMC that's the white whale. If I could get AMC, that's another one I'll do for free. I don't care. But let me do something with AMC, because as soon as I walk in there and I see Nicole Kidman on the screen, we come to this place. Oh my God. Like she hits the nail right on the head. She's our queen, and that's it. Also, she was great in The Northman. I don't care about that much else that Nicole Kidman has done in her career, but she was great in The Northman, and she is spectacular in the AMC ads, which ultimately is the bigger reflection of what my reality is, what my culture is going to the movies and AMC theaters. So let's do a quick recap before we get to the last one. We have Albert Einstein, Rihanna, Natalie Portman, Alex Trebek, LeBron James, and Nicole Kidman as our, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 greatest Americans of all time. Now, the last two came down, the last spot on the roster here came down to 2 names, and I was like, do I want to take this seriously or do I want to do a joke one? Do another joke one and actually take one seriously. And the joke one was Elon Musk. Now, the truth is I don't know if he's gotten his citizenship, but I would be very hard-pressed to believe that he hasn't at this point. Yeah, there's fucking no way that he hasn't. Nick, why would you put Elon Musk on this list? Because I think there's something to be said about a man who took the country's social town square and shaped it. Now, Twitter does not belong to the United States, but for all intents and purposes, and shaped it into the most reprehensible piece of garbage that you could conceive of in like a year. Like totally destroyed it in like a year. And then what's the most recent thing that he did? He got caught liking porn on Twitter, and so he removed the ability to actually look at other people's likes, and people were like, it's just because you were horny on Maine. You're Elon Musk and you don't have a burner. And then I did, because my thing is, yeah, he's not on the list. He's a piece of shit. He's not on the list. So, okay, so who did I want to go with? So who is my serious one? Dick Cavett. Dick Cavett is going to be the actual 7th greatest American, maybe potentially number 1, that I want to put on this list. Now, I don't know if I've talked about Dick Cavett on this program before, and for those of you out there who do not know who he is, when you think about late night television, your brain will go to the Kimmels of the world, the Fallons of the world, the Conans of the world. If you're of a different generation, you might think Letterman, you might think Leno, you might think Johnny Carson, all these characters, right? But not only one of the original talk show hosts, but pound for pound, the rawest and the most authentic was Dick Cavett. And I think that when you think about all these figures that we're talking about and how they shaped their respective fields, I think what Dick Cavett did for late night programming, the shockwaves of that are still felt in some form today, but it has sort of flipped on its head, where Dick Cavett in a lot of ways was the antithesis of Jimmy Fallon. Right? It wasn't about getting these people and, these celebrities and these pop culture figures and getting them to do like bits and like little games and shit like that, which isn't always worth your attention, because ultimately that's the most valuable thing that you have in your possession is your attention. And I think sometimes it is really shitty that these late night hosts just bullshit around like that, because when you think about what Dick Cavett's show was, he would have on political figures and thought leaders and the biggest artists of the world. I mean, like literal artists, and then also like the John Lennons of the world, the Yoko Onos of the world, the George Harrisons of the world, Paul McCartney's. Could have just said the fucking Beatles, but he had them all on individually, right? The figures of the last 75 to 80 years that you know a lot about, but there's not a lot of video or audio interview of them. I promise you they were probably on the Dick Cavett show. The motherfucking Salvador Dali was on the Dick Cavett show. It was Frazier and Ali. He had them in studio, asses in seats. And the thing that meant that still to this day means the most to me about him was his interview techniques were raw, they were unrefined, there were no mechanics, and he would slip up constantly. And people would sometimes they would have some volatile conversations, or he would slip in the middle of two guests having a volatile conversation, and he would get kind of like, he would kind of get like, he would kind of freeze out, and he would just be like, oh, all right, well, we're going to take a quick word from this week's sponsor. And then they would just cut away, and you could see him kind of try to, there's just an authenticity to it that is absent. It is completely absent from network television today, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to describe how authentic television resonates with me in a way that I just am always like, fuck, I'm gonna go off the rails, and I don't want to sound stupid. So, hey, can I tell you guys, when I wrote down, so there you go, there are your 7 greatest Americans of all time. How long did I spend on that? Was that too long? Let's do the list one last time. Albert Einstein, Rihanna, Natalie Portman, Alex Trebek, Dick Cavett, LeBron James, and Nicole Kidman. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. And then when I went into my notes earlier today to write all of this down, just so I, keep all my ducks in a row, I opened my notes to a bit that I forgot to do on the show. And so I'll just kind of shoehorn it in now, just because I didn't even finish it. But I was thinking to myself, if there was ever a live golf adjacent for the NBA, where the Saudi Arabians continue their sports and culture washing, and they want to bankroll a real legit basketball league, like they've done with golf and like they've done with soccer, tried to pay Mbappe like $1 billion a year. And then you had dudes like LeBron and Draymond go to Twitter and they're like, where's my check? Like, y'all play basketball over there? So then I was like, so what if that happened? So what if they did? I'm like, what's the starting 5 of players that are taking Saudi Arabia's money, like current NBA players? I couldn't figure out a point guard. So the point guard is still blank. I'll leave that one to you guys. The shooting guard, Jordan Poole, he's going over there immediately. He's taking a contract over there immediately. At this point, what did he say? His legacy is secured? Bitch, you got your ring. Fine. Go get paid. Fuck off. That's fine. Go ahead. Go play in Saudi Arabia. The 3, Draymond Green. I mean, at this point, if the band's going to break up and it's kind of over for the Warriors and, Draymond in the twilight years of his career, send his ass to Saudi Arabia for like $750 million a season. I could see that happening. I think that's entirely within the realm of possibility. Who's going at the 4? It's got to be Julius Randle, right? Got to be Julius Randle. Because I'm not convinced that he's not going to get relegated to like a 6th man role this year. Something that we talked about on the shoot around like a week or two ago. And hey, you give him $950 million to go play a season or 2 over in Saudi Arabia, Julius Randle's taking that. The center, this one I had to think about a lot. I don't know if I mean this, but Karl Anthony Towns, maybe. Karl Anthony Towns, I wrote maybe as the center. I don't really remember what my reasoning would have been for that. And even now, saying it out loud, I don't really like how that one feels. But then the other one that I wrote was DeMarcus Cousins. That one feels good. / Dwight Howard. Maybe they do a package deal and you get DeMarcus Cousins and Dwight Howard for like $250 million each. I could see that one happening. 6th man, Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero going to Saudi Arabia for a nice, cool $60 million? $60 million. Yeah, $60 million a season from the Saudis. Tyler Hero would take that. Who's the coach? Well, as a matter of fact, since Monty Williams is so inclined to rob franchises, I'm probably him. That would probably be him. And then, so that was that little bit. And then the last note that I had written down here, I want to do a quick note on Dwyane Wade, because he and Ian Eagle, no, it's been Noah Eagle. Yeah, Dwyane Wade and Noah Eagle have been calling the Olympic Games for the U.S. team, the men. Now, Noah Eagle is a professional, right? He's been doing it a while. He's really, really good at it. He's an awesome play-by-play guy. Dwyane Wade is starting to dip his toe in the water in commentary. I think 2 things are true here. 3 things are true here. 1, he's not bad at it. It's not bad. Definitely just like a guy that you're watching a game with type of commentary from Dwyane Wade. That's not bad. That's okay. I don't mind that. 2, so who's it going to be? NBC or Amazon? Who's getting Dwyane Wade? What is this for? You know what I mean? Well, actually, I'm realizing this. The damn Olympics are presented by NBC and Peacock, so probably NBC, right? So as soon as Dwyane Wade signs a contract, if he hasn't already, and maybe I just missed it, I imagine that this is him sort of getting his feet wet so that he can start calling NBA games this year. Okay, all right, that's fine. Because again, he's good at it. He's a fun presence. He's a really chill guy. But the third thing that's true here is do not let his ass call a big game. I'm so tired of these networks putting on, like, the just guy that you're watching a game with, color commentators, in these really big moments where it matters to me, man. Because if you don't agree with me and you think I'm off base here, let's think about it like this. Have I mentioned who fucked up Jim Nance's Super Bowl call this last year? Have I talked about that on this show? That was Tony Romo. Is there a bigger name in the broadcasting arena right now as for a guy who it's just a guy that you're watching the game with type of commentary? That's Tony Romo to a T. Fucking love Tony Romo. I think he rules. I think all of the hate is a little bit unwarranted. I think he's just honestly having a good time watching the game, and sometimes he's makes some silly noises, and that's just his quirk, right? I really, really enjoy him because I know he means it. But the problem is when you let that motherfucker call a Super Bowl with a professional's professional like Jim Nance, a guy who understands that you are inviting 100 million people around the country are inviting Jim Nance and Tony Romo into their living rooms. That is not lost on Jim Nance. He understands the weight and the gravity, and you put him with a guy who's just fucking happy-go-lucky. All right? That guy ends up fucking up Jim Nance's Super Bowl call. Okay? God forbid Dwyane Wade does some dumb shit in a big moment. I don't think I'll care about it in the regular season. I might, but I don't think as of right now I will care if that happens in the regular season. Just don't let it be the playoffs, or I don't know if Dwyane Wade, although I was going to say if maybe Dwyane Wade has a Kenny Smith moment at All-Star Weekend and he's just like a shithead for like 4 hours and everybody's like, what's your deal? Like, go home. But I forgot, because of Dwyane Wade's kid, he wouldn't be like that. Like, he's with the shits, as they say. So we're not going to get the Kenny Smith kind of performance out of Dwyane Wade. So that was that. Now let's get back to Nathan's email, because I think there was another take or two in here that we wanted to get at. Take number 7, Helen Keller. We could agree that was bullshit, right? The older I get, the more that I'm thinking there is no way in hell. You may have already talked about this in a previous episode, or maybe I'm making it up in my head. Yeah, we definitely did, but it was like early on. Like, oh, this was a while ago. And I don't, to be honest with you, remember why we would have brought that up. Maybe we were doing like a list, like an impromptu ranking of like the biggest fucking liars of all time. We probably put Helen Keller on there. Take number 9, parasocial relationships. Do you ever worry that your listeners feel like they know you too much? Your show is literally copium for me. I turn it on when I'm having a bad day, and no matter how you feel like you're doing in the episode, which I know varies quite a bit because sometimes you say that you think the episode is shit. I do frequently think that. Back to the email. The episode chills me out quite a bit. That said, I definitely do not feel like I know you as a dude. That is to say, I love listening to you talk, but especially after watching the first 10 or so minutes of today's show, he's talking about the last one that we did with Madison Rose. I can tell that when your wife is around, you are not quite the same guy that you are when you're firing fastballs for an hour. I think that that's healthy, and I also know that you talk about it on the show, but do you think that the average coper, or even the average YouTube viewer in general, makes that distinction? The average YouTube viewer in general, no. No. And that's why I always try to talk about the barrier, the curtain that's between creator and viewer needs to be shattered. Okay? It's the people who embrace that barrier that I find deplorable, that I find to be annoying. People who listen to this show, it's a mixed bag. And I also I want to say this. If I seemed different at all in the last episode, maybe I was trying to be more disarming to her because I didn't want her to think what she said at the end about her being worried that I was going to do like a gotcha thing. She wasn't kidding. And so I think I was really just trying to make sure that she felt comfortable and that she was good with, not that you were saying it as an attack, but I do think that's maybe an important note because it's not that I'm like a different guy. Sure, this show I am more exaggerated. And then if you were around when I was with Buckets at Wave Sports and Entertainment and we would do live shows and shit like that, first of all, I was just like mentally, I was just like a different dude then, and I had more ego then. And so some of it was real, the way that I would act, some of it was real, but even then it was character. And the problem that I had when I was working there was up to that point, I went like 4 years. That's not how long it was, but it was probably like 3 years where I had been doing this like Motown Noah character. And even though it had only existed on YouTube for a couple of months at the time that I got that job, I had still been doing it on the internet for a couple of years. And what the world had showed me as a 19 to like 22-year-old is that when you are at your best and you're most valuable when you are online performing, doing and saying outrageous shit. Because the more that I began to do that, the more opportunities that I would get, the more shit that I would accidentally my way into, right? That didn't happen to me otherwise when I was just acting like some guy. And so when that eventually takes you to a job in Los Angeles, where you're like going to an office every single day and making content and doing live shows and like interviewing Cade Cunningham, it became really hard for me to know when to turn it off. And I didn't know how to blur, I didn't know how to make that distinction of like who was who, and that line did get blurred. And so in some ways, even though I do still, I don't want to say I still wish I had that job, I just wish that things went differently. What I am, I guess, lucky for is experiencing some form of like an ego death where you're just like, all right, I need to just do a hard reset. That's why I think I talked about this a little bit recently. The whole I'm just some guy thing. I just really try to hammer home because, yes, parasocial relationships make me very uncomfortable. And matter of fact, the Motown Noah Discord, like I don't go in there anymore because I really didn't like the way that people made me feel in there. And I didn't like the things that people would message me privately. It made me really uncomfortable. Because what I learned is that the Discord ended up serving as like the power dynamics that people would fuck with. Like I just didn't fuck with it at all. I wanted it because I thought it would be a fun way to like have a community where we just like post funny shit and like whatever. And it just turned into something like radioactive and I just didn't appreciate it, honestly, the way that it made me feel. And so that's why I'm reluctant to ever do anything like that again. Like, God forbid the show ever takes off in such a way that there's like a subreddit. Like, that doesn't mean I wouldn't check the Coping Hour subreddit every fucking day, but I would be scared to do it because, yes, those people do exist. There are a lot of emails that I want to like say something on the show and be like, hey, I need you guys to like abstain from this type of behavior. Like, don't send me shit like this. But I don't want to draw attention to it, A, because I don't want to acknowledge those people at all, and B, because I don't want to then have that backfire and almost like perpetuate that behavior, and then people think it's like funny or chill to do that shit. So, and I'm also not going to email those people back. So, yeah, sometimes, man, people send in some fucked up shit that I don't want to read. And then the other part of it is the Friday Feel stuff, where I think people got really comfortable with me as a guy, and they were telling me shit that was too personal, where I was like, who am I to you? Who am I to you that you think of a 7-minute segment of me being like, damn, this sucks is going to... And two things can be true. Dudes, like, motherfuckers just want to be heard. That's all that it is. They could care less if I, like, don't have anything to say. They just want to get it out, and it's therapeutic for them in that way. I get that, and those emails did exist too. But I'm just telling you, as somebody who read every single one, there was a line with it. And so that was really, really hard. The other part of the parasocial shit is, and this has always been the case with people who like consume whatever it is that I do. I've talked about this. Motherfuckers will not come up to me. in person, in real life. What they instead do is like email me, or in the past, like DM me that they saw me. Like when we first moved to Chicago, we had only been here for like a month, and we were going downtown to just like run some errands and, just figure out what's going on in the city. Yeah, this is like 5 years ago, man. And we're on the train, and there's this dude who's like right in front of us. We're all standing. It's a packed car, and he's like, I don't know, arm's length away from me. He's just being weird. There's something about his presence. He's kind of like, what? All right, whatever. I forget about it. I'm like, whatever. We get off the train. We're at like Marshall's like an hour later. I check my phone. I open Twitter. I see I have a DM. Motherfuckers took a picture of me. It was that same dude who I was thinking, like, that guy's weird. Took a picture of me and my girlfriend just like standing there, and was like, was really cool to see you on the train. Like, sorry, I didn't say anything. Like, I was too nervous. That's not flattering. That's weird. That made me feel weird, because I don't know what it is about. First of all, my fit looked great, so I was like, all right, thanks for the pic, like that, candid as hell. But like, it's shit like that, and it's not the only time that it's happened. I actually got I don't want this guy specifically to feel called out. The Pistons game that we went to last year against the Nets, when we lost 27 in a row, there was a dude that said he saw me there, but he was sitting like somewhere else. That's different. If you saw me like in your seat and you didn't, that's different. I'm not mad at you, right? But it's the people who will see me. That's weird. It makes me uncomfortable. Please just say hi. Please just say hi. Don't take pictures of me and then tell me that it was cool to see me. It's weird, man. Oh, so yeah, man. Not necessarily worried about it too much with a majority of you guys, because I hope you don't think that you know me, but at the same time, I don't say anything to you guys that isn't 100%, true. And there is a weird balance on this show of like, I can say you don't know me, but in a lot of ways it is all out there. You know what I mean? And I very much wear my emotions on my sleeve. And when I'm having a bad day or I'm having a bad show, I will let you guys know about it. And then you get to figure out like how my brain processes shit like that, like in real time, when I have those like breakdowns or like those really cathartic moments. So I can't say that you guys don't know me at all, because you do. But it's the people who like try to get in my head and leave like fucked up comments that bother me. Or when they take something that I say too literally, like too verbatim of what I said, and then it's just devoid of all the context that was actually surrounding it. Like, I'm not trying to call this guy out specifically, but in the last episode, when we said like, who has more cultural significance, Flavor Flav or Ludacris? And immediately we were just like, obviously it's Ludacris. The genesis of that take was just like, who's more well known? And the one of you guys who just like fucking sprinted down to the comments and was like, that's the most racist shit I've ever heard. I get, man, that was like in good spirit, and that you were maybe trying to do the right thing and like kind of check me on something. But like, that's what I'm talking about when you say that like this is the most racist shit that you've ever heard. First of all, I think that's just because in America we're trained to look at things through this like racial lens, where it's like, man, it's just not always about that. It's just not always about that. And so that's what I mean by just taking something that we said too fucking literally and not just listening to the shit like that is parasocial as hell to me. Like, for real, log off, like, for a little bit. Like, I'm with you in this fight, brother. There are actual racists online. Like, let's go fight them. Like, let's not get fucked up over this shit. What are you talking about? So no disrespect to that guy, but also chill the fuck out. Nathan, that'll do it probably for that one. You guys are doing great for the most part. Right? Usually don't have any notes. I think that's probably it. Oh yeah, and then at the end, I don't want to, Nathan, I don't want to leave without giving this one to you. You did bring up cross country skiing at the end of this, and then you said, "That's right, Nick, it's me again. Gotcha, I'm back." Yeah, haha. Cross country skiing guy is back again. Nathan, I'm not even mad at you. Like, you can get that joke off, even though I butchered the delivery on your behalf, because you nailed today's show. Thank you for providing today's show, Nathan. You did an awesome job. And everything that you said in here that I didn't read, dude, I sincerely appreciate it. Now, if you guys will give me a minute, we're going to read somebody else's email, and it's their story. I'm not going to have that much to say by the end of it. But when you guys send in emails and you're asking for advice, and lately a big theme on this program has been a lack of motivation for anything that you're doing in life. Like where do you get that motivation from, and how do you get that voice out of your head? We got an email here from Matthew. I'm going to read every word of this. It's long-winded. This is a long email, but we're going to read it because I want, if any of you out there have sent in an email about, what we were just saying, or are too scared to send in an email, copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever you listen to this program. I hope this does something for you. So, Matthew, welcome to the show. Hey, Nick. Love the show. I've come close to reaching out about a dozen times in the past, but I'm pretty sure I have some kind of... let's get to this is a long email, so why don't we just get to this one? Fuck. I guess I could... No, fuck it. We got to read the whole thing. First, I loved your conversation with your partner about retail managers. I grew up in Michigan, and my father was a store director at Meijer. He was paid decently, I think because those stores are massive and have crazy overhead, but he absolutely 100% was just some dude. A dude that I loved, no doubt, but it was always amusing to me to think that my dad, a huge fan of scatological humor and a person whose favorite meal was a whole-ass bag of tortilla chips and a tub of processed guacamole, was in charge of hundreds of employees. Yeah, just to break the email for a second, that's what the point that we were making was, dude, right? 100%. Most of those people are just your dad. They're just some fucking guy. Back to the email. More to the point of why I wanted to reach out. I was struck by what you had to say about filmmaking a few pods back. As I alluded to, I was raised in Southeast Michigan, where I developed a deep love for cinema, and more specifically for screenwriting. When I was 16, my father passed away suddenly in a car accident on his way to work. I should also add, that job I described earlier, he fucking hated it. 60 hours a week, plus another 10 to 20 on Monster.com trying to get the hell out of there. But no one else would pay him as much, and he had mouths to feed, so he sucked it up. We all wish he hadn't. From that point forward, I swore to myself that I wouldn't die working a job I hated and put all of my eggs in the filmmaking basket. I didn't even minor in anything back in college because I didn't want anything to fall back on. I moved to Los Angeles in 2012 and almost immediately felt like I had fucked up. I wasn't making enough money to fully cover rent for at least 2 years. My dinner was typically yogurt and bran cereal mixed in for fiber. It was disgusting. I finally caught a regular gig on some terrible freeform show and was able to coast on that for 3 years. But that well went dry too. I was writing on weekends, sleeping less than 4 hours a night during the week, and there was absolutely nothing to show for it. 7 years in, my savings were depleted. I owned nothing of value, and I couldn't keep a single relationship going because so much of my life was dedicated to an industry that could not give less of a fuck of who I was or what my dreams were. I hit a pretty hard rock bottom in the spring of 2019. I was caught in the worst relationship of my life. My dog developed a rapid and aggressive form of cancer and had to be put down. And the biggest kick in the nuts, I was driving home from work one night and blew a tire out to the far left lane of the 134. My car spun out across all 3 lanes of traffic and narrowly missed an 18-wheeler on the right lane, but did not miss the median. Hit that head on. Somehow, I was totally unharmed. My Civic was totally fucked, though, but walked away feeling like I just dodged the same exact thing that happened to my dad. Somehow, even though I was out there working for my dream, I got caught in the depressing good word here, because I don't know how to pronounce it. The depressing something of the entertainment industry. Machinations? Surely that's what that word is. Of the entertainment industry. The same way he got caught in the stop using this fucking word! Machinations of working retail to support his family. It was a real gotcha moment from God, or whatever is up there. I made a deal with myself, lots of deals being made with yourself here, that I would take one more shot and then call it quits if it didn't work out. I had an idea for a TV show that I thought would be cool, so I drove up to Big Bear, California for a week and wrote from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day until it was done. I came back to Los Angeles with a finished pilot script and was honestly ready to pack up and move home if it didn't go anywhere. That was 2019. Now, in 2024, after a global pandemic, an insurrection, 2 historic labor strikes, I'm proud to say that the show has been produced and will be airing on Peacock this fall. It's called Hysteria, with an exclamation at the end, folks. And may or may not be your vibe. I can't really tell. But I guess the extremely long-winded lesson of this whole email is, yeah, this industry sucks. It is grueling, and it takes everything from you. And more often than not, it gives nothing back in return. But in my very specific, probably impossible to replicate case, it gave me everything that I wanted with the flip of a switch. I say this both as encouragement to chase your dreams and as a cautionary tale that is probably as tough as you think it is, maybe tougher. To tie it all together, if it weren't for the lessons learned from that some guy retail manager father of mine and the life he left on the table to make sure I had this opportunity, I never would have made it. We shot our show in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, trying to replicate Michigan in the 1980s, and it was one of the most intense but most fulfilling experiences of my life. On the very few days that I had free time to do things like clean, cook, iron clothes for the week, etc., I didn't read this part. I'm not cutting this. On the very few days that I had free time to do things like clean, cook, iron clothes for the week, etc., I would listen to the Coping Hour, and it really lightened the load, especially while trying to keep up with the worst season in Pistons history. Man, I realized the way that you wrote that wasn't meant to... it wasn't meant to invoke that reaction from me. But just humanizing yourself in that way and knowing where I fit in your puzzle. You know what I mean? And it's one thing that I feel like, you know, I recognize usernames and profile pictures in the comments, right? So I know like, oh yeah, I know this guy and I know this guy and I know this guy. But at the end of the day, I don't know your guys' lives and the circumstances in which you listen to these episodes. Some of you guys might be having the worst days of your life and you're listening to this. Some of you guys might be like having a good day and it's kind of just background noise and like it is what it is, you know. But for you to say all of that and to just know that I'm not trying to sound selfish or make this about me. I'm just saying, but I feel very thankful that I have been part of your journey in that way, and that you, while going through all of this, have listened to this show, and that you felt compelled to send in that email, man. I really, really hope, first of all, round of a fucking applause that not only did a screenwriter writing in an email to the Coping Hour, thank God, no issues with that one at all. It didn't even need to be proofread. The motherfucker's a screenwriter. It's truly just an amazing story. Just an amazing story. And like I said, I don't have that much to say to it. I really just wanted to get that guy's story out there. So, man, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And my thing with, you know, screenwriting and all of the scripts that I used to write, because I've always had more fun writing screenplays because I really like, I don't know how to describe it. It's not worth it. But the long and short of what I was saying a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure what I said when we were talking about filmmaking on the show, was that anything that I've ever written, I don't believe in enough. And I don't have anybody in my life that them telling me it's good would like mean enough to me. Maybe that sounds rude, but I have instead, you know, just in terms of like finding something and realizing that it's kind of your dream and latching onto it, the way that Matthew did here. I've been thinking a lot lately about what the next thing for me is. And Matthew, in a lot of ways, your email here, it really juiced me, you know, and kind of sent me in the direction of like, man, you just got to do it, you know? You got to do it to have done it, as we like to say on this program. And I know that in some form, my purpose is to have conversations with people, as dumb as that sounds. But when you think, I don't want to talk about this. I hate when I want to talk about stuff that I care about, and then I start to say it, and it just sounds dumb. But I very much crave authenticity and lights and cameras. And for me, I think it's just trying to figure out the medium that I belong in, the people that I need to be speaking to. And I know what my plan is. I know that I want to talk to thought leaders and political figures, like to start locally here in Chicago. And, you know, her and I have talked about studio spaces. We've been talking about it, like, we're doing it last night. And it's like, in an ideal world, you get a pretty decent first guest, you shoot an hour, chop it up, you got a pilot. And it's time to go shop it around. Who's going to buy this thing? Who's going to buy this thing? I'm not talking about, you know, anybody major, but Raising Cane's. Like, y'all want to fucking Mint Mobile? Y'all want to sponsor this shit? You know what I mean? So that way we can bankroll the rest of the damn season. And this is light years away, but it's also like, I'm the one who's been sitting here thinking about how am I can't justify merch just because people want it. I just feel too guilty asking for the money. But then I was like, what if I just portion the money and X amount of the profits just go towards, whatever. It's happening again. It just sounds dumb. Matthew, Nathan, who were the other ones that sent in emails today? I apologize for not remembering. You guys nailed it today. You, the listener, fucking nailed it today. You crushed today's program. Thank you for that. Thank you for making today a Monday episode, no less, an awesome one here at the Coping Hour. And if you are listening to this on Spotify, you can rate 5 stars. If you are listening to this on YouTube, you can leave a like, subscribe. Nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. I will catch you guys in the next one.